Welcome to this Shortwave radio channel, and this is another video in our beginner series that is all in a list. So if you are looking at them, they're all going to be in a Shortwave for Beginners playlist. So this is part 2, and we're going to talk about the time of day that is best to listen to shortwave. So is there a time of day that if you listen, it's better than, other times? Is there a time of day I should not be listening because it's not usually the best time? And yes, typically shortwave reception varies throughout the day. And that has to do with the ionosphere. And it's a very complex thing. It has to do with, the season of the year. There's all sorts of things that go into effect. But there's one thing that happens that if you're listening to international broadcasters is to know. Prime time, local time is often the best time because broadcasters are targeting your area. When international broadcasters send their signal out, they know that there's times of day where most people go to work and might not be on the radio. Well, that influences their schedule. So technically, late afternoon and evening is often the best times for shortwave because the stations target your area. So your local late afternoon and evening should and will often have more signals to listen to and stronger signals. So for example, here Radio Romania has, programs to North America in the late afternoon and throughout the evening for North America because they know that that's when most people are off work or at home and will have time to listen to. So that is something to consider. For stations that do broadcast to North America, late afternoon and evening, same thing for Europe, late afternoon and evening local time in Europe will be the best. That's when stations are broadcasting towards Europe. So your local late afternoon and evening, which we call prime time, is often the best. There's also a little bit in the morning because some broadcasters will also target these areas just early morning, just before people go to work. But late afternoon and evening is often the number one time for listening to shortwave stations and having powerful signals. That said, throughout the day, usually there's always something to listen to, but signals will vary. There's a period of time in the daytime where signals tend to be much weaker, and it's around local noon. So 11 a.m., noon, 1 p.m., around local time is often where you have the least chances of getting really good signals because you're in the middle of the day. There's a lot of absorption in the high frequency ranges. Really nobody's broadcasting or almost no one's broadcasting to your target area. So you'll probably not hear a lot of stuff except sometimes some local stations that are not too far away. But for the most part, it's one of that period of times that's probably the worst for listening to shortwave broadcasts. That said, you'll be able to hear, especially if you're in a low noise environment, you'll be able to hear stations almost all day in general. But there are periods of times when there's not that much. For example, here I will most of the time avoid listening to shortwave from about, I'd say, local time, 10 a.m., and maybe 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, because it's often the time where I don't hear that much. But that said, when you go to the expeditions, when you go to very low noise area, there are broadcasts that are coming in, and there's stations on shortwave 24 hours a day. It's just that nobody's targeting your area during midday most of the time. Makes it harder to really receive anything. And I suspect that a lot of newcomers to the hobby will turn on the radio at noon, for example, and say, well, I don't hear anything except, some powerful religious broadcasters and stuff like that. And it's simply because you're not listening at the right time of day for shortwave broadcasts. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.